The mining colony was not a place where anyone wanted to live. The air always smelled like metal and burning oil. The ground was covered with gray dust. Huge machines dug deep into the planet day and night, and there was never any peace. The people who worked there were not free. Many were prisoners or had large debts they could never pay back. But some of the prisoners were not even human. In one corner of the colony, there was a small building with strong metal bars on the windows. Inside, a group of alien girls sat close together. They all had different colored skin, some blue, some green, some a pale yellow. They spoke in soft voices, and sometimes they did not speak at all. Their eyes were big and sad. Most of them were young, just teenagers. The oldest was Lyra. She was careful, quiet, and always watched the guards. The youngest was Nyla, who was only a child. Nyla tried to smile for the others, but even she found it hard in this place. The girls did not know much about humans. All they knew was that the guards who watched them were always angry. The guards wore dark armor and shouted orders. Sometimes, if the girls did not work fast enough, they were punished. The work was hard. They had to carry heavy rocks and sort metals by hand. Their hands hurt every day. They dreamed of going home, but they did not know if they would ever be free again. One day, a loud siren rang out in the colony. The guards made everyone stand in line. A group of humans in clean uniforms walked past. These humans were not like the guards. They had badges and spoke into radios. They walked up and down the rows, checking lists and looking at the workers. Some of the girls watched the humans with hope, but most did not expect anything to change. Among the new humans was a soldier named Ethan Carter. He was not the biggest or the strongest in the group, but he was careful. His hair was short and his eyes were calm. When Ethan walked by the building with the alien girls, he saw something the others did not notice. He saw fear in their eyes. He saw how thin they were and how tired they looked. He slowed down for a moment and watched them, even when his commander called him to keep moving. Ethan did not say anything at first. He walked with the other soldiers and finished the inspection. But he could not forget what he had seen. That night, when he sat in his bunk, he thought about the alien girls. He wondered why they were there. He wondered if anyone cared about them at all. The other soldiers talked and laughed, but Ethan stayed quiet. He knew he was supposed to follow orders and not ask questions. But he could not let go of the image of those sad eyes. Back in the building, the girls tried to sleep. Lyra listened to the sounds outside, always ready in case the guards came in. Nyla whispered stories to the others, trying to give them hope. She said maybe the new humans would help them. Lyra shook her head and said not to trust humans. She had seen too much. But even Lyra hoped a little when she thought of the soldier, who had looked at them with gentle eyes. Days passed and the work did not get easier. But now, sometimes, the girls saw Ethan walking by. He never spoke to them, but he nodded or looked at them kindly. He always seemed to be watching as if he wanted to make sure they were safe. The other guards did not notice. Ethan seemed different from everyone else. One day, when the girls were moving rocks, Nyla tripped and fell. The guard yelled at her, but Ethan was nearby. He quickly stepped forward and helped Nyla stand up. He told the guard that Nyla was just tired and needed a drink of water. The guard grumbled, but let Ethan give Nyla a drink. The girls watched in silence. It was the first time any human had been kind to them since they arrived. That night, Lyra talked to the others. She said maybe there was one human they could trust. The girls whispered quietly, not wanting the guards to hear. Nyla smiled, saying she knew Ethan was different. For the first time in a long time, hope started to grow. In their hearts, Ethan went back to his bunk that night and thought about what he could do. He knew he could not leave the girls in that place. He made a silent promise to himself that he would find a way to help them, even if it was hard or dangerous. He did not know how yet, but he knew he could not ignore what he had seen. Somewhere, in the darkness of the mining colony, hope had started to grow for the alien girls and for Ethan too. Ethan did not sleep much that night. He kept thinking about the alien girls. He knew they were suffering, but he did not know how to help them yet. Every time he closed his eyes, he remembered their sad faces. He remembered how the little girl, Nyla, had looked up at him with hope when he gave her water. He thought about Lara, the older girl, and how she had watched him carefully. He wished there was something he could do right away, but he also knew he had to be careful. If the guards or the other soldiers saw him helping the girls, they might get angry or suspicious. Ethan decided he had to be smart and patient. The next morning, Ethan followed his orders as usual. He walked with the other soldiers as they inspected different parts of the colony, but every chance he got, he looked for ways to get close to the building where the girls stayed. Sometimes he dropped pieces of food or soft cloths near their work area, hoping the girls would find them. He tried to make it look like an accident so the guards would not notice. The girls started to notice these small acts. Nyla smiled more often, and even Lyra looked less worried. Ethan also started watching the guards closely. He paid attention to when they changed shifts and where they kept the keys to the building. He listened when the guards talked about new orders or changes in the schedule. He learned that soon there would be a special inspection from the leaders of the syndicate. This meant that more guards would come, and it would be even harder for the girls to escape. Ethan felt the time to act was running out. Inside the building, the girls felt the change too. They could sense that something was different about Ethan. One night, after a long day of work, Nyla whispered to Lyra, asking if she thought Ethan was really going to help them. Lyra said she was not sure, but she wanted to believe it. Some of the other girls started to talk more about escape, but most of them were still too scared. That week, Ethan found a chance to get even closer to the girls. While the other soldiers were busy with the inspection, Ethan slipped away and found Lyra working alone near the supply shed. He walked up to her quietly and handed her a small piece of bread. Lyra looked at him with wide eyes, not sure what to do. Ethan spoke in a soft voice, telling her that he wanted to help. He told her that he was watching the guards and looking for a way to free them. He told her not to lose hope, but to be patient. Lyra listened carefully and nodded. She went back to the others and shared what Ethan had said. The next day, the guards were more strict. They yelled at the girls to work faster and checked the building more often. Ethan worried that maybe someone had noticed him. But when he saw Lara and Nyla, he could see that his words had given them new hope. The girls started to help each other more, and they tried to keep up their strength. One night, Nyla could not sleep. She sat by the window and looked out at the stars. She wondered if she would ever see her home again. Lyra sat next to her and held her hand. Lyra told her that things were changing and that she believed Ethan would help them. Nyla closed her eyes and dreamed of freedom. For the first time in a long time, her dreams were happy. Meanwhile, Ethan made a plan. He started writing down everything he knew about the guards' routines and the layout of the colony. He found a map and marked the safest paths out of the building. He studied the times when the guards changed shifts and when the security cameras were turned off for maintenance. He practiced moving quietly in the dark, making sure no one could hear him. He knew he would have only one chance to get the girls out safely. The week passed slowly. Every day, Ethan checked on the girls, always careful not to draw attention. He gave them quiet signals, like a small wave or a gentle smile, to let them know he had not forgotten his promise. The girls watched him and felt stronger, knowing someone cared about them. Finally, Ethan learned that the special inspection was coming soon. The guards would double their patrols, and no one would be able to leave or enter the building without permission. Ethan knew it was now or never. He made up his mind that he would help the girls escape before the inspection began. He hoped he could do it without anyone getting hurt. In the quiet of the night, Ethan looked at the stars and promised himself again that he would help the girls, no matter how hard it was. He did not know if he would succeed, but he knew he could. Not stand by and do nothing. Deep inside, Ethan felt brave. He hoped the girls would be brave too. Together, maybe they could find freedom. Ethan knew the time was close. The special inspection would start in 2 days. The guards were already more careful than before. They checked the buildings more often and shouted even louder. The girls were tired, but they tried not to show it. They knew they had to be ready if Ethan gave them the sign. That night, Ethan walked by the building where the girls slept. He gave Lara a quick look and nodded once. Lara understood. She whispered to the others when the guards were not looking. She told them to stay ready, to be quiet, and to trust Ethan. Most of the girls were scared. Some wanted to say no, but Nyla smiled and said Ethan would not let anything bad happen to them. Lyra squeezed Nyla's hand and tried to believe it. 2. Ethan waited until everyone in the barracks was asleep. He got out of bed very slowly and took only what he needed, a flashlight, a small map, and a piece of bread for the girls. He moved quietly through the halls. His heart beat fast, but he remembered every dark corner and quiet step he had practiced. He reached the building where the guards kept the keys. He listened for sounds, but all he heard was a guard snoring. He crept inside and found the keys. His hands shook as he took them, but he did not drop them. He made his way back out and moved toward the building where the girls waited. The night was dark and silent, except for the machines far away. Ethan took a deep breath. He knew this was his only chance. Lyra saw Ethan outside the window. She told the girls to stand close. Ethan used the keys and opened the door slowly. The girls stepped out one by one. Some of them looked back, afraid they would get caught. Ethan smiled and nodded, showing he was not afraid. He whispered that they had to move fast and stay quiet. They walked quickly across the yard, keeping to the shadows. Ethan led them behind the storage sheds and past the old broken machines. He listened for guards, but no one was near. The girls moved as quietly as they could, even though some of them wanted to run. Nyla held Lyra's hand the whole time. At one corner, they had to wait. 2 guards walked by, talking and laughing. The girls hid behind a pile of metal pieces. Ethan put his finger to his lips to tell everyone to stay quiet. The guards did not see them and walked away. Lyra let out a small sigh of relief. Ethan took the girls toward the fence that marked the edge of the colony. He had seen a spot where the fence was broken and easy to get through. When they got there, Ethan helped each girl crawl through the hole. Nyla got stuck, but Ethan gently pulled her free. Some of the girls wanted to cry, but Ethan told them they were almost safe. Once they were outside the fence, they moved into the dark, rocky hills. The air was cold, but the girls did not complain. They followed Ethan, trusting him now. Lyra walked at the front with Ethan, watching for trouble. She whispered to him, asking if they would really be free. Ethan said he did not know yet, but he would do everything he could to keep them safe. They walked for a long time, keeping low to the ground. Sometimes they had to stop and hide when they heard voices in the distance. Ethan always watched and listened before moving again. He gave the girls the bread he brought, and they ate quietly. Nyla thanked him and smiled. The others did too. After a while, the ground got rough and the girls grew tired. Some of them had cuts on their hands or feet. Ethan stopped and let everyone rest behind a big rock. He told them they were doing well and that they just needed to be strong a little longer. Lyra helped Nyla clean a small cut. The girls sat close together and whispered. For the first time, they felt hope growing stronger than fear. Ethan checked the map and looked at the stars. He told the girls there was an old tunnel nearby. He said if they reached it, they could hide there until morning. The girls stood up, ready to follow. Even the ones who were scared before wanted to keep going. Ethan led them carefully through the dark hills until they reached the entrance to the tunnel. Inside, it was cold and damp, but it was safe. Ethan closed the old door behind them and told everyone to rest. He said he would watch while they slept. The girls lay down close to each other and closed their eyes. Some of them fell asleep right away. Others stayed awake, listening to the soft sounds in the dark and thinking about freedom. For the first time it seemed possible, Ethan sat by the door and promised himself he would protect them. He did not know what would happen next, but he was ready. The girls were not alone anymore. They had someone who cared. Together they waited for the morning and the next part of their escape. The morning came slowly. In the old tunnel the air was cold and damp. Ethan stayed awake most of the night, listening for sounds outside. He felt tired, but he was careful not to fall asleep. He knew the girls were counting on him. The girls woke up one by one. They were hungry and a little afraid, but Ethan gave them hope. He told them they were safe for now and gave them what little bread he had left. Lyra looked around the tunnel. She tried to count everyone to make sure no one was missing. All the girls were there, but some were shivering. Nyla sat close to Lyra and smiled, trying to be brave. The other girls sat quietly, holding each other for warmth. Ethan left the tunnel for a few minutes to check outside. He made sure there were no guards or patrols nearby. He saw the sun rising and felt a little better. When he came back inside, he told the girls they could keep moving soon. He explained that if they followed the hills, there was a forest not far away. If they reached the forest, they could hide better and find food and water. The girls stood up and followed Ethan out of the tunnel. The ground was rough, but they did not complain. Lyra helped the younger girls walk, and Nyla tried to keep everyone's spirits up by telling small stories. They moved slowly but did not stop. The hills were high and the wind was cold, but everyone tried to be strong. Ethan walked at the front, always watching for danger. After an hour, they reached the edge of a thin forest. The trees were not very tall, but there were enough to hide them from anyone looking from the colony. Ethan led them deeper into the woods. They found a small stream, and everyone drank as much water as they could. Nyla dipped her feet in the water and laughed. For a moment, the girls forgot they were running from danger. Ethan took a moment to rest and check the map again. He wanted to make sure they were going in the right direction. He remembered a safe spot marked on the map, an old supply shed hidden near the edge of the forest. He thought they could rest there before planning the next part of the journey. As they walked through the trees, they heard a noise behind them. Everyone stopped and listened. Lyra whispered for everyone to hide. Ethan told them to stay low and not make a sound. They waited as footsteps got closer. 2 guards from the colony appeared, looking around and talking to each other. Ethan knew they could not fight the guards. He motioned for the girls to stay hidden. The guards passed by without seeing them. When the danger was gone, everyone let out a sigh of relief. Nyla hugged Lyra, and the other girls hugged each other. Ethan told them they had done well. He said they were brave and quiet, just like he asked. They kept moving and finally found the old supply shed. It was hidden behind thick bush, and it looked like no one had used it for a long time. Ethan opened the door and checked inside. There was some old food, water, and warm blankets. The girls went inside and sat down, feeling safe for the first time in days. Lyra checked Nyla's feet, which were sore but not badly hurt. The others shared the food and drank water. Ethan let them rest. While the girls rested, Ethan thought about what to do next. He knew the guards would be searching for them soon. He thought maybe they could send a signal for help if they found the right equipment. He remembered seeing an old radio in the supply shed. Ethan checked the radio and tried to make it work. He listened for any sound. There was only static at first, but then he heard a faint voice. Ethan tried to answer, hoping someone would hear him. The girls watched Ethan work. Lyra asked if the radio would bring help. Ethan said he was not sure, but he had to try. Nyla sat next to him and asked about his home. Ethan told her about his family and how he missed them. Nyla smiled and said maybe one day she would see her family too. Ethan promised to help her if he could. As night came, the girls wrapped themselves in blankets and tried to sleep. Lyra stayed awake and watched the door. She thanked Ethan quietly for saving them. Ethan said it was not finished yet, but he would do his best. The night was cold, but everyone felt a little safer. The sound of the forest made the girls feel calm. For the first time, some of them began to believe they would really be free. The next day, Ethan woke early. The sun was shining through the trees and birds sang softly. The girls were still tired but seemed stronger after their rest. Ethan gave them some water and told them they needed to keep moving. The forest was safe for now, but they could not stay long. The guards would soon search for them here. Lyra helped Nyla tie her shoes tighter. Nyla smiled and said she felt better. The other girls stretched and prepared to walk. Ethan checked the map one more time and said they needed to move toward a place called the River Valley. It was farther away but had more trees and better places to hide. As they walked through the forest, Ethan kept his eyes and ears open. He moved carefully and quietly. The girls followed behind him, some holding hands to stay close. Nyla told a small story about stars and hope, and the others listened. Lyra watched Ethan closely, trusting him more every day. Suddenly, Ethan stopped. He held up his hand to signal everyone to be quiet. Up ahead, they could hear voices and the sound of boots on the ground. 2 guards were patrolling the edge of the forest, looking for any signs of escapees. Ethan pulled the girls behind a thick bush. They all stayed very still and quiet. The guards walked past, talking about the escape. One said they would catch the girls soon, but Ethan hoped they were wrong. After the guards left, Ethan told the girls to keep moving. They walked slower now, careful not to make noise. The forest was thick and the ground was uneven, but they kept going. After a while, they reached a small clearing near the river valley. The water was clear and cool. The girls drank and washed their faces. Nyla laughed as the water touched her skin. Ethan smiled, happy to see the girls finding small moments of joy. Lara sat down and looked at the river. She whispered to Ethan that she was scared. She asked if they would really be safe soon. Ethan told her he was not sure yet, but he believed they were getting closer. He said they had to be brave and keep helping each other. While they rested, Ethan checked the radio again. He tried to send a signal, hoping someone would hear. The radio crackled and popped, but no one answered. Ethan did not give up. He promised the girls he would keep trying. That night, the girls made a small fire to keep warm. Ethan watched over them. They told stories and shared memories of their homes. Nyla said she dreamed of a place with blue skies and wide fields. Lyra said she hoped for freedom and kindness. Ethan listened and felt a deep wish to help them find those things. Suddenly, they heard a noise nearby. Ethan stood up quickly. He motioned for the girls to be silent and hide. From the darkness, more guards appeared. This time, there were more of them, and they were armed with stronger weapons. Ethan whispered that they needed to move fast. He helped the girls put out the fire quietly. They moved deeper into the forest, trying to avoid the guards. The chase had begun. The guards shouted and called out to each other. Ethan led the girls through thick trees and over rocks. The girls were scared but trusted Ethan to keep them safe. Nyla held tightly to Lyra's hand as they ran. After a long and hard run, Ethan found a narrow cave hidden behind a large tree. He led the girls inside. The cave was dark and small but safe. They hid there, holding their breath as the guards searched nearby. Hours passed, and the guards finally gave up and left. Ethan waited a little longer before telling the girls it was safe to come out. They were tired and cold, but they smiled. They knew they had escaped the guards, at least for now. Ethan told the girls they had to keep moving. He said they were brave and strong, and he was proud of them. The girls felt hope again, and their trust in Ethan grew even more. They rested for a short time in the cave and then started walking toward the river valley. Ethan knew they had a long journey ahead, but he believed they could make it. Together, they were no longer just survivors. They were a team, and they would fight for their freedom. The sun rose slowly over the trees. Ethan and the girls left the cave and continued their journey. They were tired, but kept moving. The forest was thick, and the ground was hard to walk on. But the girls felt safer than before. They knew Ethan was with them, and that made them brave. Ethan looked at the map often. He wanted to be sure they were going the right way. He said they needed to reach a small village far from the colony. The village was a place where some humans and aliens lived together. Maybe there they could find help and be safe. The girls listened carefully and trusted Ethan's plan. Lyra walked close to Ethan and helped Nyla when her feet hurt. Nyla smiled and told stories to keep everyone's spirits high. The other girls followed, holding hands and walking quietly as they moved. Ethan told the girls to be ready. He said they might meet other people soon, and not all of them would be friendly. The girls nodded, knowing they had to be careful. After a long walk, they saw smoke rising in the distance. Ethan said the village was near. They moved faster, but stayed hidden in the trees. Suddenly, they heard voices. Ethan told the girls to hide behind some bush. A group of men came into view. They looked strong and wore rough clothes. They carried weapons and talked loudly. Ethan watched them closely. He did not know if these men were friends or enemies. The men stopped near a small path. One of them saw the girls hiding. He shouted, and the others looked toward the bush. Ethan stepped forward and raised his hands. He spoke calmly to the men, telling them the girls were not dangerous and needed help. The men looked surprised but did not attack. One man, named Jack, stepped closer. He asked who Ethan was and why he had these girls. Ethan explained their story, how the girls had been slaves and needed safety. Jack listened and then nodded. He said the village was a place where they could rest and heal. He promised to keep the girls safe. Ethan felt relief and led the group toward the village. When they arrived, the village was small but full of life. People of many kinds worked together. Some were human, others were aliens from different worlds. The girls saw children playing and smiled for the first time in a long time. The villagers welcomed Ethan and the girls. They gave them food, water, and places to sleep. Lyra and Nyla felt hope growing in their hearts. They thanked Ethan quietly, knowing he had risked much for them. Ethan stayed in the village, helping the girls heal. He taught them how to stay safe and how to live in a new place. The girls learned quickly and began to dream of a better future. One day, Ethan and Lyra talked about what to do next. They knew the syndicate would not stop looking for the girls. They needed to be strong and ready to face any challenge. Ethan promised to protect them no matter what. Lyra smiled and said they would face the future together. Nyla joined them, holding Ethan's hand and saying she felt safe for the first time. The village became a new home for the girls. They learned to trust and to hope. Ethan showed them kindness and courage, and they grew stronger every day. Though the road ahead was still hard, they were no longer alone. They had found freedom, friendship, and a chance for a new life. The days passed slowly in the village. The girls began to heal from their long journey and hard past. They learned how to smile again and how to laugh with the children around them. Ethan stayed close, watching over them and helping wherever he could. One morning, Lyra and Nyla sat by the river, talking quietly. Lyra told Nyla that she could not believe they were free now. Nyla smiled and said it was because of Ethan. Lyra nodded, feeling thankful for the soldier who had risked everything. For them, Ethan had become more than just a protector. He was a friend and a guide. The villagers respected him for his bravery and kindness. He helped teach the girls how to read and write, and he taught them how to be strong. One day, a messenger came to the village. He brought news that the syndicate was still looking for the girls. They had sent soldiers to search the area. Ethan knew they had to prepare. He called a meeting with the village leaders and the girls. Ethan told them that the fight was not over, but they had allies now. The villagers would stand together to keep the girls safe. Lyra stood up and spoke with quiet strength. She told everyone that they would not go back to the life of slavery. She said they would fight for their freedom and for the freedom of others. Still trapped, the village prepared for the coming danger. They built defenses and planned ways to protect each other. Ethan trained the girls and the villagers in simple ways to stay safe. When the soldiers came, they found a strong and united village. The girls stood tall and the villagers worked together to keep them safe. The syndicate soldiers were surprised to find resistance. They could not take the girls back. The battle was not easy, but the village won. The syndicate's power was broken in that area. The girls were free and their new home was safe. After the fight, Lyra and Nyla thanked Ethan. They said they could never forget what he had done for them. Ethan smiled and said he was proud of their courage. The girls began new lives in the village. They went to school, played with friends, and dreamed of the future. They told stories of the past but looked forward with hope. Ethan stayed with them, watching as they grew strong and happy. He knew that his choice to help the girls had changed many lives. The alien girls were stunned that only one human soldier had freed them, but Ethan did not think of himself as a hero. He believed that kindness and courage were what made a difference. Together, they built a new family. A family born from hope, trust, and freedom.